And a good morning to the viewers in Holland. It should be right around 8 o'clock where you're at. The in-sim time for the 24 hours of Le Mans at iRacing is almost 7 o'clock. I think it's like 10 to 7. We are still in darkness, and we are currently looking at Danny Hoekstra bringing the car into the pit, and the car will be taken over by Dave Guild for his first morning stint. And I'd like to bring you up to date a little bit with what has been happening during the night. So, during the night, the Tulip Racing team has been doing everything exactly according to plan, with only very minor incidents taking place to hinder them, and they were not that much of a hindrance at all. When we were exactly mid-race, that means when there were 12 hours behind our belt and 12 hours to go, the Tulip Racing Porsche had moved itself up from 47th to 43rd place. And this is mainly due to the fact that the drivers were able during the night to do 3 stints on a set of tires, which saved us significant time in the pits, while others were having problems either with crashes, damages, or stuff like that, repairs in the pits. Pretty much according to acceptance. The darkness is always, for many teams, a challenge and a time when people get fatigued and people start making mistakes. The team that one of the teams, for example, that had problems was one of the teams that ran in the top 3 early on in the race. It's called DT3 Racing Esport, and they are currently in 38th position due to several problems. They are still running, but they had their fair share of problems, which proves that it doesn't really matter where you start out the race. If you're in the lead, in the top 5, in the top 10, somewhere in the rear, and you can still get your fair share of problems. I apologize for the stuttering of the image. That is purely my connection as a broadcaster. The drivers are not experiencing any connection problems at this point. So Dave Guild is not seeing the same kind of stuttering that you just saw. All right, so the race is currently, we have 7 hours and 47 minutes left in the race, so pretty much a regular work day left to go. And since about an hour, the Tulip Racing Porsche has been in 39th position. So all throughout the night, we've been gaining positions on the other teams, and as I said, that's due to Tulip Racing drivers doing very strong laps. Alex Davidson ran some very strong stints with laps around the 3:57 mark, and he actually ran the quickest lap for the Tulip Racing team of a 3:56.2. Danny Hoekstra after that was very consistent, constantly running 3:58, 3:59 laps, and David Guild has been doing the exact same thing. So the Tulip Racing drivers have been doing exactly what the plan was. They've been just doing their laps, being strong, being consistent, and obviously they gained from other people getting fatigue, crashing out, spinning, stuff like that. So they've gained a total of 8 positions overnight. We are expecting it to turn light in probably 30 minutes. You can see on the horizon that it's starting to light up just a little bit, so it should be light within about an hour or so, and that'll bring us through the day, and that'll bring us to hopefully to finish the race as strong as we're going right now. So that pretty much brings you up to date for tonight. To just give you an impression of what the driving at night was for the drivers. I'd like to show you a little bit of footage from earlier tonight when Dave Guild was driving the car, and I took a part of a lap with him on the onboard camera. So let's take a look at that. This is a replay. An image might be a little bit stuttery here and there. As I said, we've had some connection issues at the broadcast channel, but it's nothing that hindered the drivers. They did not have any issues. The drivers have not reported any issues of connection problems with me at all. So here you have a little bit of an idea of what it looks like from inside the car when you're driving in the middle of the night at Le Mans. We are at the first chicane at the Mulsanne Straight, and going up to the second part of the Mulsanne Straight. And as you can tell, at this part we're accelerating up through the gears. By the time you see the white signs indicating that the next chicane is up, these white signs on the side of the road right here will be doing about 260 miles an hour. Going back to second gear, probably about 50 miles an hour, kilometers an hour through the chicane, and then once again the final part of the Mulsanne Straight. And as you can tell, the French countryside has very little street lighting to help the drivers out. It's not at all like for instance, the 24 Hours of Daytona are driven on an oval with an infield track, and that track has street lighting. It has night lighting all around, so the night there is nothing like the night in Le Mans. Now we're going back towards the Porsche S's, and as you can tell here, there's basically the only light that the drivers have is the shining of their high beam headlights. And obviously in race cars like this with speeds of 260 kilometers an hour, those guys got some pretty strong headlights. So we're going to make a sharp left here, and then we're going to make a sharp right, which is called the Indianapolis corner, and that brings us towards the Porsche S's, as you can tell by the sign over the road here. Porsche S's are a little bit further down the road there. And not until you get back to the start-finish area where the grandstands are and the pit area, that's where you will see a little bit more light from the environment, like the street lighting and stuff like that. But around here, the drivers solely rely on the light that comes from their headlights. So, especially when you are coming up on turns, as Alex Davidson was saying, it's a little tricky in the dark because you don't really see the apex of the turn until you turn in. And in daylight, obviously, you can look a little bit further ahead and a little bit wider. You have a little bit wider view. So here you see them coming up to the final two chicanes here. Pit building is on the right, and the grandstands and the pits have some more lighting that benefit the drivers, obviously. But it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. So back live, some pictures right now. Dave Guild driving the car, passing another car here, coming into the final two chicanes, starting another lap. Still in 39th position. And he is starting lap 230. And the Tulip Racing team is currently 18 laps behind the leaders and 3 laps behind the car that is running in front of them, which is the DT3 Racing team. And I think we still have 48 cars running in the race at this point. No, we have 49 cars still running the race at this point. I gotta correct myself once more. It's 48, and the 48th car, the 971 Wings of Turkey car, has had several issues during the night and dropped back. They were running in front of the Tulip car, and they are now in 48th position. They're shown still to be running, but I'm not really sure if that is the case. they're still being scored anyway. So at this point, we have 7 hours and 40 minutes to go. As you can tell from some of the wider camera angle shots, there's a little bit of a red glow starting to appear in the sky. That means that the sun up is about to get going. We should be driving in the light within the hour or so, and that'll make things a little bit easier for the drivers. Most of the drivers on the team have reported to have had 2 or 3 hours of sleep, which is not a whole lot, but it's enough to get by if you're focusing on the job at hand. So currently, Dave Guild has taken over from Danny Hoekstra, and we're going to be coming back to you and finish up this race in about probably in about 4 hours. We will come back with an extended coverage of the finish of the race, and hopefully we'll be able to get a word in from the 4 drivers of the team and see how their experience was. For all 4 of them, this is a first timer. They've done other 24-hour races, but as a team for Tulip Racing, this is the first time they're participating in the 24 of Le Mans on iRacing. So it'll be interesting to see what their feelings are and how they felt that they did. So we'll probably be back, as I said, in about 4 hours, and we'll take it to the finish then. So this is Blip Shift Broadcasting, Tulip Racing Endurance Class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. My name is Mark, signing off for now. We'll see you back here in about 4 hours.